Hey.
Hey, Warren, what's going on? It's Matt and Mac.
How you doing?
Hey, how's it going, guys? So you were about to hear an episode with the awesome artist and podcaster and all-around guy, David Choe. And in which in the body of said episode, we talk about his buddy Anthony Bourdain.
A good amount, yeah.
Yeah, and our kind of mutual love and adoration for the man. Obviously, we recorded this before Mr. Bourdain's untimely passing, and I mean, we're pretty. It happened today.
Yeah,
we're pretty devastated.
We're,
about it.
I was about to say we're bummed, but I think that's a little too light of a word.
So rather than cut that out of the show, we figured to honor the guy and how much we love him.
Yeah, we decided to keep it in.
We decided to keep it in, but also we wanted to just quickly talk about just mental health and kind of and just.
Yeah, guys. I mean, seriously, if you got any of you guys are thinking about doing something stupid with yourself, you know, suicide is never a good thing.
Anything, or even hurting yourself in general. Like, look, I struggle with depression my whole life. You're one conversation away from feeling differently. I'm not saying feeling better, but you're always one conversation away from just feeling a little bit differently. And even if it's with a stranger, it might be the thing that helps. So to that end, anyone who has any, thoughts of hurting themselves or just can't take it anymore, definitely call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, and that's 1-800-273-8255, and just talk to someone before you make a choice you can't take back.
Yeah, you can't take back. Exactly. So this is the end of our first intro. There's another intro
coming
next. That's a little more delightful.
I guess this episode is dedicated to Anthony Bourdain, in honor of which he never wanted. But,
exactly.
We hope we see you somewhere down the line.
Hope you're listening somewhere.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Here's another intro. That's a little more fun. The following is a bunny ears disclaimer. Hi.
Hey,
what's up, man?
David Choe episode.
It is the David Choe episode, and unfortunately, when we recorded this, Mac, you were feeling a bit under the weather. Is that accurate?
Yes, I had a twisted vertebrae.
Is that really what it... Oh, yeah, you did have a twisted vertebrae.
Yes, it hurt a lot, is the way I'll put it. And
you got that from transforming into a werewolf, but stopping halfway through? Or?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it had something to do with, the moon landings being fake, or or Pizzagate or something like
Makes
that.
Makes
sense. Yeah. But so I just gotten back from the chiropractor. I was not feeling myself.
You were a trooper for recording it. I'll be honest. When you walked in the door, I went, "Oh no!"
Yeah. I asked for a bottle of water, and you knew there was something wrong.
Oh my God! Yeah. You didn't have like a cigarette in your lip, and like you were like, "I need water and a seat," and I was like, "What happened to my poor boy?"
I know,
but nonetheless, David Choe was cool enough to come and talk to us, so we thought it was worth toughing it out.
Yeah. No, I was a goddamn champion. Yeah. You guys are gonna hear it in a minute, I guess.
Yeah, and I think we had a pretty interesting conversation. But we just wanted to preface it with like, this is kind of unfortunately the Matt Cohen and David Choe show today, because Mac was just not quite there.
I was hopped up on ibuprofen.
But what follows is an interesting conversation.
Yeah, Choe is actually great. I love that kid.
The nature of art and fame, and kind of just him telling us not to be podcasters. So.
Yeah. I want to have dinner with him like more often.
Choe, call us, man.
Yeah. Way to Choe.
We should call you back, actually.
Yeah, way to Choe.
So please enjoy the following episode of Bunny Ears.
Yeah, enjoy.
And that ends a Bunny Ears disclaimer.
1, 2, 3, go.
On with the music, Adam Green.
Woohoo.
Bind me, gag me, take me to the bunny ranch. People dying, kill me in the packing house. Even you have to win.
Hey! Yo. Legit, I just bought these headphones back, and I could feel it like breaking on itself. What?
I can hear you. I can hear
now,
you echo.
Now you can't.
Yeah.
See, everything's all disconfigured today.
Yeah, I know.
Culkin.
Well, I know.
It's all your fault. Welcome to Bunny Ears, where it's always Mac's fault.
Yes.
I'm Matt Cohen, joined by the aforementioned
Macaulay Culkin.
What were you last time?
I don't know. Maybe
JTT.
Yeah, I think I was JTT last go.
Is that what Asian people call you?
JTT?
No,
Macaulay
McCluckin.
That's how my aunt would probably say it.
Yeah.
My dad used to go with Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, Macaulay. I get Mick Culkin. I told you we had Macaulay Culkin.
That was real. Yeah,
that was real. Look, yeah.
My aunt if we would go to McDonald's, you go, we're going to McDonald's. So, so I imagine you'd be a
Folks, that's not Stu talking. Who is that voice? He's how to describe this man? He is an artist. He is a raconteur. He is a filmmaker. He's now a friend of ours and a podcast guest. I like that I just called you our friend without like confirming that. You're our friend.
You're in now.
Hey, we met.
Yes,
we met and we're friends.
So we're all friendly here.
Dude, the last time we met, I took a shower with Macaulay Culkin. if we're not friends now, I don't know.
I don't know.
The first time you met Macaulay Culkin,
the first. This is the second time we're meeting. The first time we met, we took a shower.
It's David Choe, ladies and gentlemen, and former podcaster in his own right.
Yep, Dr. Choe. What's going on?
Man?
Can I just describe to the listening audience what I'm seeing right now?
Yeah, Warren, here you go. He's gonna paint. He's an artist, so let him paint a picture.
Let me paint a picture. Macaulay Culkin is wearing the most amazing Macho Man
Oh yeah, you should see it with the hood
This sweater is amazing. We're at Matt's house, which I just came in. It's in North Hollywood. Oh, am I supposed to?
Yeah, who gives a fuck?
It's in North Hollywood.
Woohoo.
The only time I've been here in North Hollywood is to buy drugs, and it is like it's your home, and it's like fucking covered with like art
Stuff,
and
yeah.
toys and it's like a museum. There's like this photoshopped picture of Mac when he was 7 or 8.
Yeah,
that's
the Page Master.
That's a Page Master poster. Man.
Yeah, that's a real Page
Oh,
Master
that's a real.
poster.
That was the poster.
Oh, that's the level of Photoshop back then, I guess.
Yo,
Yeah,
speaking of Page Master, do you know they did a Q&A screening a few nights ago at the Mann's Chinese Theater?
I think you mentioned that.
And
I don't know what that means.
Someone posted a picture online, and there were like 30 dudes up on stage. Mac, who could those 30 dudes be?
Not me.
Not you.
As far as I know, I wasn't even invited.
And not Whoopi Goldberg. Did they really not invite you?
I don't know.
We should have just showed up, man.
Yeah, just showed up. It was like, come on, what's up?
We were at a birthday thing, but have you ever seen Page Master? Chuck?
I'm sitting here. I'm like, I must have seen this.
He gets turned. He's a little boy who gets sucked into a book.
Is this
world.
Disney?
No, it's like
No.
wants to be Disney. Who is it, Mac?
I have no idea.
It's not like
It's
Bluth
like
or
MGM
anything,
or something
right?
like that.
Yeah.
I gotta see this. This looks
It's
amazing.
his finest work.
Oh yes. Oh, whew. Boy howdy. Yes, I got sucked into a book world and everything. And Whoopi Goldberg does a voice in it. And,
Patrick Stewart,
Patrick
right?
Stewart, Sir Patrick Stewart.
So he's worked with both.
Christopher Lloyd. Yep.
So
That's the only movie he's done worth watching.
there's a huge Page Master. I'm trying to think of what the equivalent of this would be for me. I guess it's like if you guys come over to my house and you at my parents' house and you have dinner. There's a humongous portrait of me peeing when I was 5 years old hanging behind me.
This is the equivalent.
A photo or a painting?
It's a photo with paint thrown on it, I guess. But it took like an hour to drive here from Koreatown, and
I hope it was worth it, man.
well, look, I met you guys like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we should say we did some. And who knows if it'll be up at this point, but we did some fun stuff at your studio. You got to paint with Mac, and the Culkin
wrestled.
The Culkin Christ was resurrected.
Well,
Culkin
like
Christ.
I like to, I like to prepare a little bit. Like I don't like, I like just shooting the shit, whatever. But so you guys roll in, you got the bunny ears. We're like doing the bunny ears podcast. So I'm like, dude, I got an hour before getting to North Hollywood, and I queue up, on YouTube, and I was like, should I go in like cold or should I do some research? And I don't know if this is gonna sound racist, and I think it's probably racist just by saying that already.
So you got to say it.
But when you guys start talking, I've heard, hey, you guys look all the same.
Yeah.
You guys sound sort of the same.
We get that.
I mean, you don't look the same.
We get that.
You don't look the same, but like when you guys are both talking at the same time, or like I can't tell who's saying what, and you're Mac and you're Matt.
Yeah.
And
There's even that too. Yeah.
We're okay with that. We've toyed with some other accents possibly, but they were all really racist and stuff.
Yeah.
And we kind of landed on like these are our voices. Unfortunately,
I guess it's just the way it has to
Look,
be.
we both grew up within like a 15-mile radius of each other in a like 3-year age span. So it's you know what I mean. We're both like white dudes from New York who like hip hop and shit. So like, I guess this is what we sound like.
I know. Sorry, everybody.
No, I'm not. It's just,
No, dude. Honestly, it's a bummer because like it's the one complaint we get about the podcast, and there's literally nothing we could.
There's nothing we can do about that.
unless we get vocal reassignment surgery, which I don't even know is a thing.
Well, I'm sure you can have some kind of knob.
Drop
I'm sure
some
you
octaves.
could. Yeah.
Did you like what you heard though, even though you couldn't tell who was saying
okay,
it?
so I shouldn't have done this, but the traffic was moving slow.
Yeah.
So I got the YouTube up. I started listening. I'm like, who's talking right now? And I met both. And actually, in real life,
We don't sound the
yeah,
same,
but
right?
on the thing, it sounds sort of
Yeah, yeah.
similar. And then when you look up things, then it's like Macaulay hanging out with Michael Jackson, and then I fell in the rabbit hole. I started
Just watching.
You went down the
just went
Mac
down just a
hole?
Mac rabbit hole.
And then during that, my friend called me. He's like, "Hey, are we still on for tonight? Are you gonna be?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to do a podcast." You just say these things without thinking about how they sound to other people.
Yeah.
I'm like doing a podcast with Macaulay Culkin, and he goes, "What?" And then he's followed your career. He knows everything about you, and then so I sat there because in traffic, that's one of the great things about LA traffic is you got a lot of time to think about shit. And it's, don't take this the wrong way. It's just,
Oop, too late.
why?
Yeah. Why?
No, like why? Like for me, like I don't know what a typical day for you is like, but like once I won the video game part of my life of like not having, like I don't have to work to like make a living.
Yeah.
Like that question comes up a lot of why, and I'm like, here's a guy of the work I know of yours. You've navigated through like, as far as I know, you don't act as much anymore,
Yeah.
right? And you just act.
I'm
when
pretty much retired.
You do it when you feel like it, and
It's a hobby.
And when you,
Changeland.
right?
Changeland.
And when you said that to me, I'm like, I'm pretty much like that with painting. Like
Yeah.
I don't need to paint for money anymore.
Yeah,
So when I paint, it's literally just because it's for a friend or a nonprofit, or it's just like I feel like doing it. There's no other motivation besides that. So that's I'm not.
That's
it's
the
like,
confusing
why?
part. Is why is this all
Well,
happening?
I'm like, yeah, like you sort of been off the radar for a while, right? And then it's like,
I try to keep my head down.
right. And
That's actually interesting. So Mac, we've talked about the origin of the show, and we joke that like I fucked up. Like you legit asked me if you wanted to start a podcast, right?
Yeah.
That was the most surprising thing I'd ever heard in my entire life. Because, dude, I'd been friends with you for like four or 5 years before that or something, and like,
I never expressed anything like that.
you never expressed any interest in like being a public person whatsoever, And
I'm just curious of like what kind of
It just seems like fun.
you've been famous for a long time, and to be like, so from what I know of you, like you haven't given like tons of like personal interviews, so you're like pretty private, right, with your private life. And then here's a medium that, for all I know, every podcaster, every broadcaster, every show I've ever been on, it's like, it's sort of, in a way, it like sort of ruins your life. I mean, it's sort of,
don't tell him that, man.
I mean, so I'm like, why? Like, what's going on?
Well, it looks like I'm looking to ruin my life. That was
right.
you nailed it on that one. No, it just seems like fun, and just I don't know. There was just it just seemed like fun.
Because here's the thing,
you
dude,
know,
right?
Everything's a hobby, So it's like, yeah, let's give this a whirl.
I mean, I think you
Like a
nailed it. Like
new
everything
hobby.
is, if you're not doing something for money, everything ends up being a hobby.
Yeah.
And then everything could be fun for that reason, because once fucking the work of it gets involved, right? Then you don't want it. Then who wants to do any kind of work, let alone if it's fun, right?
Yeah.
But like me and you just randomly started a podcast, and here we are, and it turned into I don't want to say it's a job, but it's like a real thing.
Yeah, we're actually like doing it, and we have to have some forethought, and we do have some sponsors and things like that.
And so I don't like. You guys can check me if you guys have already covered this ground, but like, who are you? Like, what's
Who the fuck are you?
No, I mean, like, what's this? Like, I know you
Yeah.
guys are friends and stuff, but like,
Well, how did this happen?
Yeah, how did-
Because legit, like the very quickest story of it was when I was like a 17-year-old kid. I was like a huge Kevin Smith fan, and I was like big on his message board.
Right.
And I became friends with him
through the message board.
through the message board. Yeah.
Nice.
I moved from New York to LA. He had a podcast.
Right.
In like 2007, we're talking. I started a podcast randomly on his network, and I've been podcasting consistently for like almost 10 years at this point. So I'm like the podcast friend, I guess, right? Like
my podcast.
theoretically, so it just made sense. Like we
Yeah.
were buddies. I
didn't know how to get into it. I didn't know how to work all of
You know,
this.
and like weirdly enough, like
Yeah.
I'm a screenwriter and I'm a comedian and I've done shit like that. But like weirdly through that kind of Kevin Smith world, and we had like we had a live theater in Hollywood where we did podcasts every day. I became like a podcast dude.
You're
Like,
a pod guy.
I used to produce like Jay Moore's show and like random other shows I had nothing to do with, because suddenly I became like a pod dude. So yeah,
But when did you guys meet?
like 4 years ago.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, through
mutual
our friend
friends.
Seth Green.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I've met so maybe you can attest to this too, because you were a podcaster. Everyone I am friends with / any significant relationship in my life came through my podcast. Like legit, most of the people I've met in LA was just like a guest on my show or a friend of a friend or
Most of the people, like most of my friends that I hang out with are like my childhood friends. But yeah, it was a great way to meet new people, you know, like.
Yeah, so like I did a podcast with Claire Grant, who was in Team Unicorn, who's Seth Green's wife, and then over the years became friends with Seth, and I became friends with Mack, and it kind of just, you know, it all rolls like that.
Well, shit, man. If no one's told you yet, let me be the first to tell you you're gonna ruin your life by doing this. But like,
In what way? In what way?
because we're talking about, like, when I talk about you and you're sitting here right in front of me, like. We're talking about like superstar, like everyone knows who you are.
Sure.
You know, and like
It's a curse and a blessing.
Without talking to you about it, I imagine that's what kind of affinity you had with Michael Jackson, right? He's a child star, and there was shit that only you two and other child.
We were just friends, you know. Yeah.
But there was things that
You talked about it, like the there's no self-help group for child stars, right?
Yes, exactly.
Or not self-help, but you know
But
what
yeah,
I mean.
yeah.
I look at
Or
like.
for famous people in general, right? Because you went through this yourself.
But these
I'm
are all.
sure,
But
dude.
these are all things that I make up without ever talking to you or Michael
yeah,
Jackson or
yes,
whatever.
yeah.
Is I make up that for me. That's some kind of. Forget the joy you brought to people or that Michael Jackson brought to people with your work. It's still to me. And when I think about it, a form of child abuse. Like, I don't know if I don't know if he wanted to do that. I don't know if you wanted to be in Home Alone. I didn't know if the parent, like, you're a kid, so I don't know if
You don't really know any better,
Right.
Pretty much. I mean, like, yeah, like everything's you have.
And
you have no perspective when you're a kid,
And I don't know if
because
you're-
you haven't lived enough life,
Right, and
so you,
and
you
so
don't
your
feel-
par-
that was just the way things were.
right, and that would be the parents' job to be you're gonna be really famous, but you're gonna ruin your life right now. In a way, like there's a side of your life.
Well, check this. Let me ask you a question, dude. So people don't know your story a little bit. You're an artist, and and I know you're down to talk about whatever.
Yeah.
The thing that kind of catapulted you to fame, as it were, was this Facebook thing, right?
Right.
Where you painted a mural at the Facebook headquarters.
I painted a thing at the Facebook headquarters, like it was like just. It was a quiet thing between me and Sean Parker and Mark Zuckerberg, and like no one knew who those guys were. No one like
it wasn't a thing yet.
It wasn't a thing, and then they blasted me on the New York Times cover, and then like I imagine I experienced sort of like what your kind of fame was like for a month, for 1 month.
Sure, but that's what I mean.
and as an adult.
Did it break you?
Oh, I mean, it like I didn't.
Did it ruin your life?
I
Because
did-
no, look, you're two dudes.
No, I was running around like Spider-Man, doing like I didn't ask for this. Like I didn't ask for this, but
What's
it's like
fascinating for me, right? Because I'm sitting across the table from two dudes who are famous, and I'm not famous. So you've both gone through the like, and you're a different case because you were always famous, right?
Yeah,
you don't
I don't
remember.
I don't really have a memory before.
But you
work.
remember being like a normal fucking dude, and then all of a sudden you're on the cover of the New York Times.
But this is what I'm trying to get at. It's like I'm at this point. One thing that happens as you become more famous or more rich or whatever is other people that have those things relax around you.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
if you're rich, then another rich guy will be like, "Hey, we got rich guy problems. Can we
Yeah,
can we
yeah.
bro out?" Or, "Hey, you're as famous as I am. Can we talk about things that no one else can relate to?"
Yeah.
And so when I think about people who idolize, like anybody, like who's your
Yeah.
idol? They're always, for the most part, idolizing their career. I idolize Michael Jordan or like just something with their
Yeah.
brain or their thing, but they are never like idolizing their personal life. Like, oh, I idolize the way this guy treats his kids, or
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And
because
so,
they don't know their personal
so there's
lives,
so
right?
what I'm trying to get at is there's so many like VH1 behind the stories shit where it ends horribly. Like this guy reached this insane level of fame, and then it went, and then it's like that's just what happens. And so for me, without ever, besides meeting you 2 weeks ago, I was like, here's a guy that reached this insane level of fame and then quietly just like figured it out, and then he's back with a podcast. I'm like, no, dude, stay the fuck away, man. Stay the fuck out of this shit, dude. You did it. You fucking got out, man.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, this is such a casual project, though, kind of thing. I mean, I'm not like
has
putting
this
myself
affected
out.
your life in any significant?
No,
like,
no.
you kind of still
dude,
do
you
the
guys
same
just
thing, right?
you guys just
Yeah.
started. You don't know the level of fucking weird like you.
Yeah, but we can control it, right? So that's the other thing too. Is like, yes, this is the most information Mac has given out about himself ever in his entire life.
yeah.
But even then I hate to tell you, Warren, like it's controlled to an extent that you're the one talking, right? So
Yeah.
you know
It's my message.
you're not going to accidentally divulge something that you don't want the world to know that could affect your actual life.
And it's
right?
not live, so you can do a
So we
take
can
back.
edit the
Exactly.
fuck
Oh,
we
we
want.
can
Oh,
always
believe me, I edit the shit out of this, dude. I'm single-handedly keeping Mack's career going.
Yes.
But it's like you meet
kinda true.
You get addicted to the fame, you get addicted to the money, and you meet people, and it sort of goes to that bank robbery, like one last bank job, and then we'll escape into the sunset.
Yeah.
We'll get to Mexico, and it's like it never works out that way because, like, it's just like why did you people? It's easy for people to be like watch other people's career and like
100%.
judge.
Yeah,
And
grass,
for me,
grass is always greener, right?
I was like, oh, Macaulay Culkin did all this shit, and then whenever you popped up again, it's like, oh, he's doing his own band and he's doing painting and whatever. I'm like, oh, that's exactly what I would do, and then just like sort of
Yeah.
yeah, but
and by the way,
you also did a podcast.
But you also
so
did a
we're
podcast
literally
also.
on the same page.
but I would, I'm look, for those who don't know, I just want to say this, like your fucking paintings are legit.
Oh, thanks.
Like
brother.
your painting,
Yeah, Mack is a dope artist,
Like all
yeah.
of a sudden, like a few years ago, you were like there was like those kind of like inquiring minds kind of. Did you know Macaulay Culkin's actually a painter? And then I was like, that's like the thing, right? Like nobody, especially in this town, wants to be what they are, right? If you're an actor, you want to be a basketball player, you want to be a comedian, want to be.
No, grass is always greener.
Right,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I got to see this guy's shitty paintings, and I'm like, oh fuck,
Oh, cool.
they're like pretty good. And so the first one I saw was the band Korn playing. And,
Oh my god,
and,
I love that shit.
And in the audience is just like a plethora of like colorful characters, Muppets and E.T. and all this shit.
Jerry Seinfeld.
And it just, yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh, this kid does not give a fuck. He paints like literally whatever he wants, and it just looked raw. And then,
Korn
like,
concert.
dude, I posted it whenever I post it, people think it's me, and I go, no, that's like Macaulay
Oh,
Culkin.
So if I could put words in Mack's mouth for a second, I think the same reason we're doing podcast and that bunnyears.com exists and all this shit exists in the same way of that art, like. Yes, Matt could just chill and play video games with Stu all day, but he's got stuff to say. I think like he enjoys doing this shit. He's fucking good at it, right? So like here's it from my perspective. I've known Mac for a minute. I didn't know he'd be such a fucking good podcaster.
Me neither.
Knock on wood. But you know what I mean though. Like
Right.
jokingly to bring up Seth Green again, which we always do. After I got back from New York in our first round, Seth was like, "How'd it go?" I was like, yo, he's a natural. And Seth went, no shit. Meaning like, oh, you mean the most famous natural talent of all time is a natural at podcasting?
Oh, that you flatter me, sir.
But you know what I mean though? I think like you don't feel exposed by doing this, do you?
No, not at all. No, and if I did, I wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I think it's, like I said, it sounds like fun.
We're just into talking about like South
It's just
Park
it's
and
another
fucking
hobby.
Toe Jam and Earl.
So when so you've spent your whole life acting, I've spent my whole life painting. So when I hear you say, and I've said it like jokingly, but also sort of serious, like that you've retired from acting. Like I say that all the time. I'm pretty much
Retired
done
from
painting. Like I don't wake up and go to the studio like it's like a job anymore. I do it when I feel like it. And so other things are interesting to me now. Media, video, like performance, like everything else, So it's just, I imagine.
It's a similar situation,
Right.
like with me, exactly. Where,
Dude's had a
again,
band and now he's got a news website and a podcast and fucking acts and you know what I mean? It's
paints and
when
you
I was
know, just do a little bit of everything.
Can I ask you something? Because just because that first painting is of yours, and I know you've done all these other paintings, and you were telling me like from the JPEGs I'm seeing online, they look small, but I guess they're huge
They're
paintings.
big.
The scales are
Well, he's
big,
got
yeah.
big canvases. His apartment in New York. I wish we could, Mac, if you ever, or if Stu's listening, if we ever feel like posting a couple of the paintings that people haven't seen, like you got fucking dope shit.
Oh, thanks.
That's unseen, right? Like,
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff I haven't
Is it
shown.
oil or acrylic or
Acrylics mostly.
nice?
But yeah, I got some oils.
But he's also got like mixed medium. Like my favorite thing he ever did, it's a fork sticking out of an outlet on a canvas.
It's just that
And
simple.
it just looks legit, like, you know what I mean?
Into it.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So can I ask you, what does the band Korn mean to you? Like I'm serious because
Do you have like an affinity for corn? Because I mean,
my fearful answer would be like, oh, it's my guilty pleasure, but it's not my guilty pleasure. It's just my pleasure. Like
Yeah.
I love the band Korn.
see, I was
Like-
never really into corn, to be honest.
Right,
It
so
was kind of
that-
it was just kind
Arbitrary.
of a silly, yeah, and it was like a silly visual kind of thing.
Well, I've
Like,
always
yeah.
wanted. I've always saw that painting and like everything you do, and I'm like, because I didn't know you, I'm like, is he making fun of it or does he like genuinely love it? And it's just like,
I'm just pulling together like visuals from around everywhere. I mean, it really is. Look at just everything from Jerry Seinfeld to Korn, and
that
everything in
painting
between.
that Jerry Seinfeld and all the Muppets are watching Korn. It speaks to me on such a huge level that it's like, I just like it's a band that I don't want to like.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it just like I think on their first album they had one song called Daddy, where 17 it's 17 minutes long, and like at the end the singer Jonathan Davis cries for like 6 minutes, and I was like, oh man, this is like a wannabe Rage Against the Machine, a wannabe like rap and I'm like, god damn, that guy just cried on this song for 5 minutes. I think I love this band. And
that's amazing, dude. Speaking of painting, so there's a painting of yours we're all really familiar with, and that's the Culkin Christ, right? And that's how this kind of friendship came about. We got a message from you on Instagram, or people kept like directing it. There was just a lot of Culkin Christ. When we started an Instagram account for Bunny Ears Pod, everyone just immediately started tagging, showing them, and was like, "Yo, Culkin Christ is here."
Culkin Christ.
Culkin Christ is
what's
here.
Up? Yeah, what's up with Culkin Christ?
What is the story?
Okay, so
what's the story? I want to hear about this.
So I when I had my podcast, like during that time, I met the actor John Cusack, and once again, like that to me is like, I just think of myself as a painter, and it's just like, it just let me know like how things are it's like I'm painting. I get an email from his agent or someone. He's like, hey, I represent the actor John Cusack. Would you like to meet him? And I'm like, fuck yeah,
sure.
dude. Are you kidding me? Like I grew up like Better Off Dead and all the 80s movies.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like basically in every fucking movie.
Yep.
And also in the same way, I'm like, here's another guy who, and this is without me doing a deep Google search, that pretty much navigated, like you've never seen him like in the tabloids as like a completely, and I could be wrong about that, but I feel like he sort of is a child star that like I mean, he's still working in movies and whatever. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll meet John Cusack.
Oh, he's awesome.
So he shows up at dinner.
And it's John Cusack.
And he's
suddenly.
John Cusack, and he's just like,
surprise, John Cusack.
and he's just I'm like, this guy's fucking like out there, man. Like he kicks it with a lot of artists and photographers and beat poets and the whole thing. And he really just wanted to talk about art, and I fucking hate talking about art.
Yeah.
I'm like, I hate talking about art. And at the time I think he lived in Malibu, and so we went to Malibu.
Keep
to his
going.
house. Yeah.
I love John. John, if you're listening, I'm not talking shit about you. I'm just recalling what it was like to first meet you.
Also, John, if you're listening, get in touch with us.
Yeah. I haven't talked to him in a while. He goes in and out of my life. But so we go to Nobu. He's like, hey, you been to Nobu? So we go to Nobu, and I'm like, I'd never been to Nobu, but I know it's supposed to
So
be
now
like
you're
Yeah,
at
it's
Nobu
tasty.
in Malibu with John Cusack.
right. And he goes, hey, you guys like Nobu? I'm like, I don't know. I've never been there, but like, cool. So we show up, and I'm a food guy. I love eating.
Yeah.
And he's like, you guys like spicy tuna hand rolls? And I'm like, yeah, dude. Who doesn't like? Yeah, sure. Why not? So it's me and two of my friends and him and two of his friends, and he orders like 50 spicy tuna hand rolls for every. He's like they all know him there. He's like 50 of those. And I'm like, I sort of want to try some other shit, but okay,
just
cool.
the hand rolls.
And I was starving, and we were all starving, so they bring out this just like fucking pyramid of spicy tuna hand rolls, and we ate it pretty quick. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now I want to try some other shit. And he's like, damn, you guys like that? Hey, garçon, one more round of those. And so we had like 100 spicy tuna hand rolls, and he's talking about.
Meanwhile, every other person you're watching the waiters bring out their food, and you're like, "Fuck, that looks good."
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, whatever. Well, I'll come here alone by some other time. And he one of his best friends, I can't remember his name, is an actor from Bad Lieutenant, the original one with Harvey Keitel, not the Nicolas Cage one. And he was in the movie for like 10 seconds as Jesus. When
So that's actually a friend of mine too. That's a guy named Paul Hipp.
Yes, Paul.
To bring it all back, Paul did a show at the Smod Castle with me and Kevin Smith.
Okay.
He did a music show.
Paul, if you're out there.
Yeah,
and
Paul Hipp. Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot your name, but.
And Paul currently does a podcast with Norman Lear, who created All in the Family.
Okay.
And yeah. It all comes together. Yeah.
So this guy's like hilarious, and
Paul's great.
and I didn't know who he was. And he goes, yeah, I'm the guy in Bad Lieutenant. And I'm like Googling him under the table. And he's like, yeah, I played Jesus,
He's in like Carnival and Midnight and Guard of Good and Evil. He was Buddy Holly in the Buddy Holly story on Broadway and shit. Like, yeah.
So we're talking about Bad Lieutenant. We're talking about him playing Jesus Christ. We're talking about art, street art, this and that. We're in Malibu fucking ODing on spicy tuna hand rolls. And finally I was just like, are we just going to fucking talk about this shit all night or what? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you want to fucking get down or what? Like, this is boring. Like, I don't want to talk about art. And he's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, let's go paint. Mm-hmm. He's like, you mean right now? Like in Malibu? I'm like, yeah, let's fucking tear this town down. And he's like, what do you want to paint? And then he goes, do you know the actor Macaulay Culkin? And I go, I mean, of course I know who he is, but I don't know him. He's like, he's Jesus Christ. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, no, like serious, not fucking with me. And but I think he's fucking with me.
But this is his theory.
Yeah, he's like, just think about it. Just think about it. And like, I go, okay, I'll think about it. Tell me what to think about. He's like, and you're 37 now?
Yep.
So I met, this is like 4 years ago.
Okay.
And he goes, think about it. He's 33. Jesus was 30, and he knew like a lot of facts about you.
Wow.
He was like, Jesus hung out with like the 12 disciples. Macaulay Culkin hangs out with these 12, and like he was like
just really finding
He has a
connections.
conspiracy theory to make you Jesus.
and he goes, you know, and a lot of references back to Home Alone. He's like, and he was alone, and like he survived, and like I don't remember all the things, but it was he was on a hot one, you know.
It was really
and it was serious. He was like, look at me, like he's Culkin Christ. You get it? And I go, no, but okay. Like I think I got it. So then, you know, he's going on and he's making all these weird, like parallel, like
all these connections,
but they're not real connections. None of the things are connecting. And I'm like, all right, fuck it. Let's
paint a
okay.
Culkin
So
Christ.
it's Culkin. So you're telling me Macaulay Culkin is? He goes, he's possibly the Antichrist reborn, come to like. And then he was saying all
I
this,
buy that more than the other.
and he was saying all the revelation shit, like you know, like the Antichrist will, you know, come like and hide amongst us and all.
Start a podcast with a Jew and fucking.
So now I'm walking around like the fucking most expensive real estate in Malibu with 2 spray cans with John Cusack, and we're tagging Culkin Christ.
Wait, was that someone else's garage?
No, that's his garage.
That's his garage.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But
But you were tagging Culkin Christ on other shit in Malibu too?
no comment.
Okay.
No
Statute of
comment.
limitations is off, right?
And so then we end up back at his house, and he, like his life, you know, I don't I'm telling this story like I hang out with guys like that all the time. I don't. That was like one of the first times I met someone like that, and so like everything is, you know,
crazy and new.
It's just like
weird.
I don't know. You just roll into Nobu and you go 100, you know, and like every woman in there's like John Cusack's here. Like,
Yeah, shit's weird, man.
And they all want to fuck him, and he has to put in like the most like minuscule amount of work to, you know, like the whole time this is happening, there's like all these like stewardesses from like Delta that I'm like, who are they? And they're like, oh, I just met them today. And I'm like, and he doesn't even talk to them at all. He's not even trying to impress them.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, at the end of the night, like this is like, I'm like, God, your life is just, you know, like
nothing but tuna and
stewardesses and Delta stewardesses.
Delta stewardesses.
So then, I mean, the story only gets weirder. So he has me tag a nicer one. He's like Culkin is Christ, Home Alone face on the cross, and it's in his garage
That's
now.
the garage one, the famous one. Yeah.
And then
it's still there, you think?
That was a whole other thing because he sold it, I think, or he was moving, and then he got someone in to appraise it, and then that like valued I don't know. It was like this
the actual painting itself. Like he sold the garage door.
Weird shit happens once you become like an established artist. Like people like remove walls and like you know, it happens.
I've heard of that.
It's like that Banksy shit with like Mr.
Right.
It's just
it happens.
Changing the price of art based on
right. And then if you do fuck with it, now you're like art is like, you know, I don't know all the legal shit, but it's like there's all this. You can't just buff over shit. You can't just like, you know, and then the ownership, you know.
That shit's so crazy to me, and you probably have a better insight on this. But there's this girl I knew is an artist. She's like famous on like Facebook or Instagram or some shit, right? And she was like,
Which
yo,
is the only thing that matters.
right?
Anymore.
Because here's what happened.
Obviously,
Well, here's what
yeah.
happened. She was like, yo, I'm doing a painting for Jennifer Lopez, and I was like, how much are you charging her for it? She's like, nothing, but she's gonna say she paid 20 grand for it to create a price.
Art is a fucking game.
It's a game,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The art prices mean and I buy
Right.
like prints and shit, and that I even feel, but like art price is based on how much someone will buy for it.
Yes.
Buy it for.
Yeah, things are only worth what people are
someone
willing
will
to pay for.
it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was in the car a week before Facebook was about to go public, and like I'm with Mark Zuckerberg and his then girlfriend, and it's like, dude, this big news coming up next week, and he goes, I'm telling him, I'm like, by the shit you showed me, when this shit goes public, that means the paintings you paid for me are worth $200 million. that and he's like, yeah, so? And I'm like, that makes me the highest living paid artist in the world.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, that doesn't work that way. And then it turned out it did work.
Did.
Yeah, no,
Like,
actually,
no
that's
one's
exactly how it
ever
works.
got fucking paid more for it.
And
That's
so
the craziest shit of all time, man.
So
Yeah.
then since then, it's just like, I see my name pop up in like the top 10 richest artists in the world and all this shit. And I've met some of those guys. I've met Murakami and Damien Hirst.
Sure.
And I'm just like, it sort of goes back to the thing again. If you don't have to,
Yeah.
why are you having another show to I sold a painting that ended up being worth $200
million.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, unless someone else is gonna pay that much, like I'm
Your
pretty-
rate's definitely
I'm
going to
pretty
go
much
down
done.
on the
Yeah.
next
Yeah,
painting.
you priced
Like-
yourself out of the market. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't really do things for money anymore, which is a blessing. Like I wake up every morning and I'm like,
You don't do shows really, right? Like gallery shows where you sell paintings
it's
and
boring.
shit.
It's just
That's not what you're
and-
trying to
really
do,
saying-
right?
And it's going back to your friend. It's a game. Like
Yeah.
all this shit. Like it's a fucking it's insider trading on crack. It's
And you already won
it's-
you won the game.
I went through the back
Yeah,
door
yeah,
and I
dude, yeah.
fucking
Yeah, you already won.
So now you get to do.
And it goes back to that. Mm-hmm. You already won.
What do you do with it?
Why
then?
am I going back to podcasting?
Yeah.
Why are you going back to why am I fucking sitting here right now talking to you fucking guys? I'm like,
What? It's not fun. What?
no,
It's
of course it's
circular.
fun. Of course I love, but it was like I was in the
I know
car
what you
and
mean.
like in the 1 hour I went full circle to like, why is Mac doing this?
Dude,
who the fuck are you? What is this happening? Why did I even have him come to my place? And then they go into neurosis and then
yeah.
it's like, what,
as a dude who's like spent like months of my life not talking to people and just like smoking weed and playing video games and theoretically like relaxing, quote unquote, that
Yeah.
shit gets so boring so fucking quickly.
Yeah.
If you
Right.
don't have like a purpose or a passion or
Right.
some kind of driving
Some
thing,
kind of variety in your life.
so like we certainly didn't start this podcast to make money, and that's not all our concern. So like,
Right.
who knows what the fuck? In the same way that like
That's when things get interesting and weird.
Yeah, dude.
Once
Weird
you
fucking podcast.
once you talk to money guys and business
Yeah.
guys, and you're like, wait, the thing I'm doing is for love, for expression,
Yes.
for creativity, and they go, okay, well, how do we monetize this? And and they're like, no,
And you get caught up in that shit though, right? So like my big thing was like everyone I've ever really loved or been obsessed with, from like Monty Python to Mr. Show to Stephen King to fucking whatever, right? They never did the thing that I loved. They didn't start for money, right? They
Right.
started because they wanted to have fun doing the weird fucking thing they were doing, and then they got paid.
and then there's
later.
then you figure out a way to get monetize these kind
So
of things.
it's got to be like just about the work
right.
for the sake
Yeah.
of it, almost, you know,
Right.
like integrity almost. I don't know. It's kind of a deeper subject to go into. Like, yeah, why do anything if you don't have to?
True.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
For real, yeah.
I mean, most people don't have that luxury. They're like, I need to work to
Of course.
fucking eat.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I'm saying,
If you're in a position though, you
Right,
don't have to do
if-
anything for your dinner.
like,
you know,
once
Why do you still paint? Why do you do video stuff? Why don't you just fucking
Yeah,
buy
like-
a mansion in fucking Tahiti
and just jerk off,
and
the
just
whole
jerk
time.
off all day, which only rich people can do.
Well, I mean, I did do that,
Okay.
and
Yeah, yeah.
and I still do sometimes. But that's a great question, and that's why, like, I've always, wherever I've been homeless and poor, I've money, I've always been searching, and it's like
Never stopped.
yeah,
Yeah.
never stop.
Nah.
It's like and what is the most, and I'm always looking for that. What is the purest way of expression, right? Like, you can express yourself like within your personal life with making love to your girl or guy or whoever, or how you express yourself to your family. But once it comes to art, and
Sure.
and I hate that we're having a discussion about art right now, but like
You did it.
but
man.
like but like when I'm have a loaded paintbrush and I'm going in, I'm like, what am I doing right now? Am I trying to like paint a tree? Am I trying to like convey some kind? What is the, if I feel something and it's like tearing me up and I want to get it out and I want to express myself in the most honest way, what medium is that? And what, you know, it's like I looked at a painting I did the other day and it was like, you know what, because of the phones and whatever, I was like cleaning out my hard drive and I had a painting that I did when I was 8, 10, like 18, 23, and I was like, I've only gone worse. Every couple years I progressively I'm like fuck. And I looked at a painting I did like now as 41 and I'm like, oh my God, like the best painting I ever did in my life was when I was 6. Like it was just only gone worse. And so you know, and that's what we do. I think I how do we get back to that truth? You know?
I think we're all just chasing that, right? Like, and I think, look,
let me ask you this, because from the little I know of you guys and your guys' friendship and your clothing.
Yes.
and it's a part that, like, because I'm 41, I spend probably $200 to $1,000 on comics a week, and I still go to the comic book store.
What's your shop?
Well,
was it Meltdown?
It was very well. The answer is I go to every comic shop.
Okay.
I go to Golden Apple. I go to
Shout
Meltdown.
out to Golden Apple. Yeah.
You know, the new one in downtown, the Tribe Called Quest one, book.
Oh yeah.
Like, I go to all of them, and I'm friends with all of them, and I get into the debates, and you know, to my adult friends, they go, "What is that? Like, what is that?" And so when I meet you guys, and I see this. And I see the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I see the obsession with the Japanese toys, and I see Hellboy, and then the obsession with the WW, like the wrestling shit, which we all know is fake, but yet we still love it.
Yep. So is Game of Thrones, though.
Yeah, exactly,
There
right.
you go, yeah.
So just on that tip, like, what is the obsession? Like, what does it mean to you to like?
Like legit, so and Matt can answer in a second. For me, it's like, so I actually got tattoos on my hands today of Gizmo the Gremlin and a fucking little jack-o'-lantern, and like all of my tattoos are of like One Piece and Back to the Future and fucking Monty Python and Ninja Turtles and Lord of the Rings. And you can look around this house, right? So the way I think of it is like, this is if my brain exploded on my walls. Like all of these obsessions are literally, we talked about this on the On Fires episode. It's my DNA, man.
Right.
Like these, I can look at Monty Python and Mr. Show, and I can look at it in order of like the things that made me the person I am. Because I always wanted to be an artist.
Yeah, all of these pieces of you on the wall, on the shelf.
100%, and I'm okay to break it down like that. Like our influences are our art, kind of like
And it shapes you. It shapes your opinions about things. And,
Absolutely.
and it'll inspire you. You know, that kind of thing.
But I'm trying to get to the thing. Like, what is the core? Like, I know you're into like all this pop culture stuff and the cartoons, but like, what about wrestling?
What about
like,
wrestling?
What,
is it?
like like I know it's like ridiculous and what's
the best way?
It's
you would-
storytelling.
Yeah.
It is.
It's male soap opera. I mean, it's,
Yeah. It's a fun storytelling. The athletic quality of it, and also it reminds me of, like, 'cause I loved it even like when I was a kid. Like, so it makes me giddy, like an 8-year-old.
For me, there's also there's the like superhero shit come to life and like rivalries and stories that last years, and then there's also, as you get older and you're more and more into it, it's understanding the behind the scenes nature of it. It's kind of like movies, right? Like, before I worked in movies or anything like that, you watch movies like everyone else, and then you can't ever watch them the same way because you're going, oh fuck, I know how they set that shot up and how did they pull this off. But it adds an added appreciation to the thing, I think.
But it's like for Kevin Smith, who has many podcasts, the one I listened to like religiously was Fat Man on Batman.
Sure, with Mark, yeah.
No, like before that,
even
when
before,
when it wasn't at the cantina and it was just all him talking to Batman. It was more focused only on Batman.
Totally.
And I think almost every episode he would cry, and he'd go deep about, and I'd be sitting there thinking the same thing people say about me, is like, he's not real, he's not a real person.
Yeah.
And people that ask me, they go, you already read the
just 'cause
Batman.
just because he's not real doesn't make him any less real.
Who do you want to build?
Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's like,
Right.
well, check this though, right? It's like, especially, I don't even know if it's the thing with modern days, right? But it's like, who are the real life heroes? Who are the real life unflappable heroes to base your kind of self off of? Like, politicians or famous people? Nah, fuck that.
Well,
like,
I never, like, growing up, I always related to, like, being powerlessness, like the powerlessness of being like a kid and being picked on and feeling alienated
like
and being
kid,
like the only Asian kid in like a black neighborhood, the only, all those kinds of things. Being the only Korean American kid around all Koreans, fobs, And so I always related to the alienation of like a lot of the characters, but I never related to like when they did good. Like I was like, fuck, if I was Superman, I'd be doing this and this. And so I always related more to the villains. And so growing up reading Batman comic books, I'm like, I'm not from a billionaire family. I'm never going to be, but I relate to the Joker. And I grew up with always people saying you're weird, you're crazy, which is what they used to say the Joker. So I grew up thinking I was the Joker. And then, but I'm like, I'm never going to be Superman. I'm never going to be Spider-Man. I'm never going to, but what's Batman's superpower? He's rich.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I'm like, oh fuck, that I think I can do in this lifetime. So I became,
you can be Batman, dude.
So I became Korean Batman.
Yeah.
So I was like basically the Joker that became Batman, and it's like that's like to me, because I sort of fell off on wrestling, but I was obsessed with it when I was a kid, but I never fell off with comics. But then so my friend Dave Chang, who's like my evil twin.
Of course. Yeah, who just you guys did what's Ugly and Delicious.
We did
right?
Ugly Delicious
on Netflix.
on Netflix. It was great.
David Chang, if you guys don't know, from Momofuku fame, right?
Yeah.
He's an amazing chef, and
And so he's friends with this white guy, Bill Simmons.
That's how you guys say it, right?
Well, like I'm not a sports guy, so I don't know who he is.
No, but I didn't mean
Simmons?
that.
I know who Bill
I didn't mean
Simmons
that.
is,
I meant like one of the best moments of my life was being on a train on the way to Manhattan. I lived in Long Island, and there were a bunch of black dudes sitting next to me, and they were just having a random conversation. And one of them went, "Oh, you know my one white friend, Steve?" And I went, "Oh shit, they do that."
Yeah, no.
So like Korean people do that too.
Well, look,
your white friend.
we don't go out of our way, but it's just like when I'm at Dave's house, it's usually just all Asian people.
So there's that white dude.
But then there's
there.
always this one white guy there, and I'm like, who the fuck's that? And they're like, oh, that's Bill. And I go, okay.
Bill Simmons?
So
Yeah.
I just know him as Bill, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
And then as I get to know him, they're like, you know that guy's like the most important sports writer, and he's
like the biggest podcaster.
yeah,
on
the biggest
planet.
podcaster. And I
yeah.
go, okay, cool. But like, so I got to be really, I really like hanging out with him, but I don't give a shit about sports.
Sure.
I don't give a fuck about sports. And he invited me last night to the premiere of his.
Did you go to Andre?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's so
okay, yeah,
funny,
how
dude.
was it?
We had a bunch of friends.
I can't
there.
It was
Yeah.
unfucking believable.
I can't wait.
Oh,
I
You
can't
guys
wait.
are gonna fucking
I
shit
can't
your
wait.
pants.
I've heard, man. Yeah.
I like Andre the Giant. Like I love.
But he was,
But
shout
I
out to
didn't.
Andre
I didn't know
Giant.
like the full story.
Yeah,
and these
dude.
fuckers go deep. They go Princess Bride to when he was like 19 to like all before Vince McMahon.
I'm excited, man.
It has so much heart. And it's so good.
Who was it? It was Samuel Beckett used to give him a ride to school. Or
Get the
something
fuck
like
out
that.
of here.
I think it was Beckett.
In France?
Yeah,
Really?
I think it was him. I don't know. But yeah.
If you don't,
He was the
Wow.
only guy in town who had the big enough car to fit
That's
like
amazing,
this like
dude.
14-year-old.
That's amazing. So the writer, the author of Waiting for Godot
Yeah.
and Andre Giant.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like I know a lot of people out there don't give a shit about wrestling. You don't have to like wrestling. This fucking thing went so deep, and they got like an amazing Hulk Hogan interview.
Oh, cool.
And they got like between their rivalry
Yeah.
and WrestleMania 3, and they actually got an amazing interview with Andre the Giant's daughter, which I didn't even know
Yeah.
And so I was like,
Wow.
oh fuck, this is why I love, they like because people go, why do you watch that shit? It's fake, or why do you read comic books? That's not real. And it's like fantasy,
you.
motherfucker,
Yeah, escape,
fantasy.
escape. So, dude, check this, dude.
Escape from this shit, but through the fantasy. Like that's when you get the truth.
Yeah.
That's when you get the truth through like this shit that's like so ridiculous that you get back to it.
So, we've gone to a lot of live wrestling shows in the last few years. We've been lucky, and we've taken a lot of friends who aren't into wrestling or have
Right.
never
It's
seen it.
always so much fun live.
Right.
They always come back, dude. Like legit, if you were to go to a fucking live wrestling show, a WWE show, you would get hooked that much quickly because it's just crazy spectacle.
Yeah.
Like it's so
It's
fucking
colorful.
fun.
It's fun. It's it's actually a good
And
date
also,
place,
like,
to
and
be
this-
honest.
this
It's like,
sounds-
bring a date to
You
a
should
wrestling
get
show.
fucking roided up, and that should be your comeback, not podcasting.
Yeah.
If you're gonna fucking come back to the limelight,
Dude,
come
stop
back as
trying
a
to kill our fucking podcast.
I'm not
know.
trying to kill the podcast.
know, I
I'm saying
know.
I'm using the podcast as a commercial to fucking pump up.
Oh yeah,
Fucking
exactly.
Culkin Christ.
We're
I
working
want.
on
I
it.
want. Yeah.
Oh,
working
dude, come
on it.
out roided up, carrying a cross.
Boom. Yeah. To
Well,
the
let me-
Royal Rumble.
Dude,
Yeah.
while I
That's
have
your
your
gimmick. That's
while
your
I have your,
gimmick.
let me just ask you. So, is it true?
that I'm Christ.
Yeah. Well, the Antichrist, Christ.
Which one is it?
Okay. Well, first of all,
No.
here's the other thing that just popped up. And it's fucking ridiculous. I'm meeting you on fucking Good Friday, dude.
Oh yeah.
Like today is the day like you get killed, right? And then come back.
It is Good Friday, isn't it?
And he's sitting next to a Jew.
That's true.
Don't leave him alone with me, man.
Right. So you come back on Easter as, reborn. Like.
Yep.
And then you go to heaven before WrestleMania?
No comment.
No. So, are you Christ or are you Antichrist? And will you use this platform of Bunny Ears Podcast as the greatest advertising tool to announce your comeback into the limelight as Culkin Christ the wrestler?
Culkin Christ the wrestler. I'm in. I love what you're doing.
It's a great gimmick.
Yes. Culkin Christ. It's a great
It's a
gimmick.
fucking great gimmick, man.
I mean, like, I know steroids is harmful and I'm probably giving really ignorant information, but
they definitely don't do steroids.
Do a couple of
anymore,
cycles and just do the forearms. Get the fucking huge Popeye forearms and just take it.
I'll just use the bodysuit thing. Remember Ultimate Warrior had the bodysuit for a while?
Oh,
with
shit.
when he wasn't roided out anymore. He just wore like a flesh-toned bodysuit with like airbrushed abs.
Yo,
and
so
everything.
to circle back a little bit, here's a question.
You see, he avoided the question though
Of course,
about Christ.
Yeah.
No, because you couldn't tell us.
No comment.
Mac,
I couldn't tell you.
But you know,
Pizzagate?
My dad would kill me.
oh shit, that's heavy.
Wait a minute, interesting father-son dynamics.
Yeah.
Things are starting to make sense.
Yeah.
But
I am the son of God.
If the Son of God would return to us today, it would be like on a podcast or something.
100%.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Like a the YouTube channel or something.
100%,
First I
bro.
infect your ear holes, then I come. Like,
So, dude, here's the thing, right? What is the plan for you, man? In a world where you hit the fucking lottery, legit, hit the lottery. What is why? What do you do? Why wake up every day?
there was a lot of projecting in this interview right now. Like a lot of the stuff I ask you guys is just the shit I ask myself every day.
Yeah.
And so when I say the people that idolize the wrong things, the way we as a society define success, that's what I'm doing now. Like when I meet a fucking genuinely happy dude who like maybe his career isn't what I would envy, but I'm like, fuck.
Look,
This guy's kids love him.
Normal life, yeah, dude.
His first and only wife loves him. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, what can I learn here? Like, we already know. Like, it's fucking like the amount of friends I've lost to like the excesses of fame and drugs. It's like we already know that story. That's a fucking boring story.
There's a way better story, yeah.
And it's like it's because we're for me, and I can only speak for myself. It's like the fear of asking for help. The isolation, the way I define being artist of like I need to be miserable and I have to stay in this state of like some kind of fucked upness to keep my edge, and like it's just
that classic artist
Right,
lifestyle.
yeah.
Be drunk and smoke and fucking chain smoking.
right.
And,
And like
miserable.
you already when I met Cusack, his thing was like you're gonna die. Culkin's gonna die because that's
Thanks,
when
Cusack.
Jesus died and that's when all the great ones died. But you made it to 37, so I mean, it was like
so far, so
you already,
okay.
already beat the odds on that.
Fuck you, Cusack.
For real, Cusack. Come on, give me a little credit.
I bet he had a death pool going and he was just trying to bolster it. Yeah.
So I mean, it's everything we've talked about. It's how I can express myself in the most honest way, and in the same time, like my whole thing is always, and maybe this isn't just me or most Koreans, but it's like a martyrdom. It's like always sacrificing myself to help other people, and I never take care of myself, and I've just let my so it's like, how can I take care of myself and also like take care of like
others as well.
just be and so
learning to love yourself.
No, dude, and I think
I'm studying right now.
I think this is
I'm someone who doesn't like to learn, who doesn't like to pay attention.
We're never done.
But
We're
I'm
never done.
I think
never
I think this is a really special episode because not only are they like, for people who are struggling in life and who do go the grass is always greener. I'm literally sitting here with like the most famous kid of all time and the dude who painted the most expensive painting of all time, and you're both like, yeah, life's tough. Like, so it's for everyone, right? We're all figuring this shit out, and the point is always like reassessing and trying to fucking grow, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Again, we're never done.
Right.
Just trying your best to be a good person and be happy.
Very special episode of Bunny Ears.
Yeah.
Quick, lighthearted subject change. Yo, how'd you get hooked up with Anthony Bourdain, man? That shit's
Ooh,
awesome.
yeah, he's rad sauce.
I mean, all of this shit could tie back into everything we've talked about again. But
Let it.
So when I hang out with Dave Chang, he's my twin brother. He's like a year younger than me. We're both have the same like levels of anger.
How'd you guys first hook up? Because he's a New York guy, right?
Right. So we have a mutual friend, Dan the Automator.
Okay, of
you know.
course. Yeah.
And so I've known Dan for a while, and he has his own separate relationship with Dave. And every time I hang out with Dan, you want to hear a funny story? So
Yeah, man.
The separation of reality
absolutely.
and fantasy. So Dan's a foodie, so he loves, like, if you look through his phone, it's just all pictures of like these fucking insane meals.
Yeah.
And so there's this place in LA called Yamakase. It's my favorite restaurant. I wanted to take you there the other day. It's my favorite restaurant. It's a Japanese chef. He's like just like 12 course like omakase menu, and
Love
it's
it.
just
Wow.
it's just amazing.
I'm
and,
in.
and it's like it's bigger now, but before it was only like 12 seats.
Where's that at?
It's in West LA.
Okay, right
Like
on.
if you guys want to go,
Yeah,
it's
dude,
amazing.
yeah,
it's
yeah,
the
yeah.
it's like the guy takes food to like that level, and so he invites me out, and every time we meet up in LA, it's just let's eat like at all the places that are like the best. So I go meet him. I think it was like only 9 people could sit there, and it was his whole crew. It was like the guy that was mixing his album. It was David Cross and Amber Tamlin and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who had just finished Batman, the last one with Bane.
Yeah.
And there was nowhere for me to sit except for next to Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And I was like, oh, and to me, like, I know he's done other movies, but I was just like,
Oh, fuck, it's Robin.
it's Robin.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like you know, like when you
That's
meet
what
like
stuck out.
it's like if you see Tobey Maguire on the street and you're like, there's Tobey Maguire,
Yeah.
the actor. I go, no, that's Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. I met
Yeah.
Ian
No,
McKellen.
that's the
Yeah.
actor that who plays Spider-Man. I go,
Exactly.
no, that's
No,
Spider-Man.
that's Spider-Man.
Certain people are their parts, bro. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So we're sitting there, and it's like one of those dinners that's like a 4-hour dinner, and he's sitting there, and I'm like, all I want to do is ask him about Batman, but I'm like, I'm not going to do that. And so, sort of like how I had said, I had a million Home Alone questions for you, and you're like, bro. And I saw it on your face. You're like, that was fucking 25 years ago. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Fuck all the Joe Pesci stories. I don't need to hear that. Like, I was just, so I'm just sitting there. I don't want to be that dude. And then I think it was David Cross or someone was like, yo, Joe, good job on Batman. And he's like, oh, thanks, man. And everyone was like, yeah. And I was like, hey,
Batman windows open.
do you mind? Yeah, thanks for cracking.
Step in.
And I was like, hey, do you care if I ask you about that shit? And he's like, oh, no, I love talking to the fans about whatever. And then for the next 3.5 hours, I'm not talking to him like he's Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the guy that played Robin, who could possibly be Batman. I'm talking about him. I'm like,
He's Batman.
like he's fucking Bruce Wayne. And he's giving me well, that's up to Christopher Nolan. I'm like, I don't want to hear that shit, dude. I don't want to fucking. And he's looking around like, why the fuck did I get to? Can I move seats? And like, anyways, so Dan, that was a whole other.
Yeah,
thing.
no,
So
loved it.
Dan's like, you need to meet this guy, Dave Chang, right? And he's and I go, why? And he goes, because he's like you. He gambles. He's angry. And what you did with art, he's doing with cooking. And I go, I don't fucking want to meet me. I fucking hate myself. And then finally, it just, fates lined up,
Yeah.
and we ran into each. I mean, he is a fucking degenerate gambler. I'm a degenerate gambler.
Love it.
I should say I don't gamble anymore, but we met in Vegas and we went on the fucking biggest losing streak where all we did was lose money and then go up to other people and make them lose all their money. And it was,
What was your game?
everything. I mean,
Yeah.
I play every fucking game. I bet on horses. I bet on like which, if I'm taking a shit and I see people's feet, I go, who's going to
Any action
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can fucking take.
any
Yeah,
act.
yeah, yeah.
That I'm
all
like,
those prop bets.
yeah, everything. Like I'll bet on the Gatorade at the Super Bowl, what color it is. And,
Yeah.
like everyone's cheering about which team won, and I'm just still waiting for the
See what
Gatorade.
color the
Gatorade,
Gatorade
yeah.
is.
Fucking blow!
God
It's
damn
fucking, I think I won like 20 grand one year on.
A
Oh, you
Gatorade
color-
color?
Yeah,
I
it was
love
like
it.
the underdog. Like it's always orange, but one year it was blue.
Yo,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
such a dope way to fix the Super Bowl is to like hit up someone who works at Gatorade.
Yeah, yeah.
Be like, yo, put 50 grand on orange.
Oh, I
yo.
mean, Super Bowl, I always like bet on like the coin flip, or
Right.
Well, they do
is
all
it
the
going to be a
crazy
beer
shit.
commercial next,
Right.
or is it going to be a car commercial? Like that kind of stuff.
Yo, if you want to get crazy with it, you could bet on wrestling.
Dude,
they take betting lines on it and shit for real.
Yeah, they've been starting to take betting lines
for the
It's
last few
crazy.
years, which
Yeah.
is so fucking weird.
Yeah, I don't know. That sounds a
'Cause
little.
the-
That sounds shady.
Yeah, because there's writers of that shit,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So like they see those betting lines too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not saying anything happened.
But yeah, so we become BFF. We hang out. We do everything together, and then, he's a fucking.
He's
Then
a
you
food
forget.
star.
You like
Yeah.
the way you. I forget that he's just my friend Dave, and then it's like, oh yeah, you're Dave Chang, the chef that everyone wants to fucking. So we're at the Chateau Marmont, and he's like, hey, can my friend Tony come eat with us. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. And then his friend
It's
Tony
Bourdain.
is Bourdain. And I'm like,
awesome.
I'm like, dude, why didn't you tell me your friend, you know? And so we're sitting there, and it, you know, I love the guy, and it's just like for me, I love asking old guys 10 million questions about like, because it's like here's a guy that I idolize, and like I want to, you know, I had my own traveling show on Vice, Thumbs Up, and
where you hitchhiked with your buddy.
I hitchhiked around the world for like 10 years.
Shit, you guys did the China one, right?
We did China.
That shit was crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and here's a guy that has a travel. So I had all these questions for him, but like, you know, while we're sitting there, like in Chateau Marmont, for all the non-Hollywood people, is like, it's sort of like where a lot of celebrities are. So like, sort of people leave them alone. Like that's sort of why they kick it there.
Yeah.
In the fucking 1 hour dinner we had, I mean, he must have been interrupted. Like every 5 minutes, someone was like, "I'm sorry, I know you guys are
dope, man.
yeah. But if my you know, they always throw something. My wife would kill me if I didn't get a photo with you. And then so I'm like, this is your fucking life, bro. Mm-hmm. Like,
because dude, he's doing it similar, much in the way that Chang's doing with food and you're doing with art. You guys are bringing like almost like a punk rock sensibility to things that have never had that before, right?
Right.
Like who's Thomas Thunder Keller?
Yeah, Thomas Thunder Keller.
Right.
We're calling you out, Thunder.
Yeah, we're calling you out, Thunder.
We want Thomas Thunder Keller to come on this show and bring that fucking thunder.
You bring that
We're
thunder.
like foodies too, man. But that's the thing, right? It's recognizing that like art is whatever you make of it. It's a podcast. It's a meal. It's a fucking painting. It's a fucking pizza parody band. It's a wrestling match.
Creativity, you know. And
Yeah.
I think this is a great, like for me, podcasting is a great place to express ideas and like whereas movies and all these things, they take longer to put
and
out
money and fucking
Well, no, good thing you've talked me out of it.
there. No, I want you to keep it going, but I want to see Culkin Christ the thing, like, you know.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Culkin Christ the wrestler. He's coming, man.
But yeah, I feel like you know, and something happens when you hang out with other people who travel the world. You know, like people think they see the world through the internet, but it's still all through a filter, and you've never left your home. And you've been like, and then when you meet other world travelers and they've been everywhere, sometimes it could be annoying. And but it's like
the people who talk about it too much.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know, when you meet people who genuinely love other cultures and love traveling, and then you're just like, it's a small world because of travel and the internet bringing everything close together.
It's one world,
but it's a fucking big world, and like. And get out of your fucking house. Like, get out of your brain of how you think about. There's people out there that think about shit, not like it's.
Yeah, I've done a lot of traveling, and it's one of those things where, like, the world gets both bigger and smaller all at the same time.
Right.
What's that Thomas Jefferson quote? Travel makes the man wiser but sadder. You know what I mean? Because like you learn more, but you also see how fucking 90% of the world lives and shit. And it just gives you perspective. I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Like.
Perspective on art and life and travel, and that's what you get on this episode of Bunny Ears. We did it. Mr. Choe, where can people find you online, bro? Like, you got so much shit going on.
Do you want to plug? Want to plug your social media?
Things?
No.
All right, so find him if you can find him.
Find him if you want to.
And Mack and David did a video. We don't know when that'll be coming out or in what form, but like. Fireworks were involved and crazy shit happened.
There were fireworks.
There was a woman with 2 different colored eyes. It was a fucking interesting afternoon.
I ended up with acrylic paint in my mouth. Yeah, it was.
I know.
That's what you get with the David Choe afternoon.
I don't even know what happened that day. It was.
It was pretty intense. It
was awesome, man.
But that was a very mature moment for me because. I was trying to, like, I usually trick celebrities into doing fucked up shit. And I called you and I was like, hey, are you down to
do fucked up shit?
And you're like, I'm in. I'm like, okay, fuck it.
You're getting there, man.
It was easy.
Evolution is what we were talking about. Mac, where can people find you on the webs?
Oh, I'm at Incredible Culk.
WrestleMania 112.
At Incredible Culk. It's Twitter. And also, at Culkamania on Instagram.
I'm on the things at Camel Toad. We're on the things at Bunny Ears Podcast on Insta and Bunny Ears Pod on Twitter.
I'm going to get you started on that cycle of steroids for the
exactly.
Next
Christ.
WrestleMania. Yeah.
Done.
And
you're
then,
get a costume maker.
Of course, check out bunnyears.com. We got stuff up every day. And then call us, yo. We need voicemails. For real, we need voicemails. It's 845-393-4629. That's 845-EASY-E-HOAX.
Any artists listening to this, please, as someone who's just been around this greatness right now, please paint Macaulay Culkin like as what you would imagine him as Culkin Christ.
Yeah. The more the merrier.
Let's spread the gospel.
Culkmania, motherfucker. Culkmania.
Mac, what do we do at the end of every show?
Try not to suck too much dick. But if you do, send pics.
Yep. Send them to the Culkin Christ.
All right.
Find me, gag me, take me to the bunny ranch.
Hey, this is Eric from IT. I was wondering if you could send Craig the intern down here. We got to rewire a whole bunch of the workstations, and I need him to climb underneath the desks and run some cables for me. If we can make sure that he's doing this in the most crammed and uncomfortable way possible, that would be great. All right, just send him down to ASAP. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Talk soon. Bye.
Hello, Mack and Matt. How the fuck have we not talked about the time that Mac was on Wild and Crazy Kids? I want to hear about that. I want to hear about that whole experience. I love the podcast. I'm with you every step of the way. I can't wait for more. My name is Alex Haven. All right, you guys suck some dick, and I will send some pics if I do.
Hey, yeah, this is for Matt. I don't know why you're such a dick to Stu. It's pretty obvious you don't like him. So, sorry, Stu. Love you, man. Peace.
A Bunny Ears LLC production.
You are freaking lumberjack!